Hello, everyone. I will be talking about Fate Strange Fake. And as is tradition, the usual first episode of a Fate series is an hour long compared to the normal half hour. So this will be a part one where I review the first half hour. And in a part two, I will review the follow up second half. And I'm happy to say that so far, this initial half hour has been very excellent. The animation for this series is absolutely gorgeous. It has a very hand drawn feel to it, which I very much appreciate. And the music is also appropriately epic. The two moments that stand out are the initial summoning and when various masters are shown in a flash montage, where the music really starts to go very epic. Otherwise, I will then also say that the pacing has been excellent. Usually, an issue with these initial episode zeros is that the lore tends to bog them down as they have to explain the complex mechanics and rules of all the Fate world, and that can tend to drag it out. I'm pleased to say that in this first half initially, it has been excellent pacing. At no point has it felt like it's dragged, has it gotten overly complicated. Everything's been very snap and quick, but still feeling like they're conveying the correct information you need to know. For ease of digestion here, I will also be condensing the storylines into their continuous through line instead of cutting them up as the episode does. So the first part of this of at least three major storylines going on. The first one follows off the is the one that kicks off the whole episode, which is the summoning of Gilgamesh. And yes, our favorite arrogant golden boy is back, and he is as delightfully snobbish as ever. Which it opens with him being summoned by a by a mage who almost immediately has his hand blown off by a girl who appears, who is revealed to be named Tanae. And this initial master is speaking all the wrong ways to Gilgamesh. If you know Gilgamesh, you know the way you need to speak with him. And where Tanae is good with it, the new master is arrogant and demanding of him. And he is then quickly dispatched by Tanae in a very gorgeously animated flame attack. And at this time, it is also revealed that the catalyst for Gilgamesh was the key to his gates of Babylon, which Gilgamesh, in typical fashion, just completely tosses away. He dismisses it as worthless because he has no use for it. He never would want to close his gates. He can open them and close them at his will. Although I feel like this will come back to bite him later on. And I believe Tanae is Native American as well, based on the dialogue that we're given. And she successfully then makes a pact with Gilgamesh as his master. Although she is not she treats him very respectfully. She's almost more of a vassal to him and his example. And Tanae reveals that she has no interest in the Holy Grail itself. Instead, she is interested in using Gilgamesh's power to help her drive off rogue mages who are using this ancestral land of hers as a battlefield for this fake Grail War. And she then reveals to Gilgamesh that she has a small army of allies who want to fight against the rogue mages. And this is where that storyline ends. The second storyline takes place with Mage's Professor Langrel and his apprentice Phaltius, who reveal the major mechanics to us, the major plot going on, where, as they discuss, it seems that America has been chosen to be set up as the battleground for a new but irregular Grail War. And this is where the mechanics of the war are explained to anyone. If you're familiar with it, you understand how there are always 7 servants summoned by 7 masters who then fight to the death, and the deceased souls then fuel the Grail, which can open up the wish to the winner. And Professor Lango theorizes that there is a rogue group of mages controlling the entire city, which is revealed to be Snowfield, and that these rogue mages have basically violated all decorum and protocol to set up a new Grail war in America of all lands, which in comparison to Japan or London is very new. It has no established mage history to speak of, and again, it offends his sensibilities. But as they're discussing the Servians, Phaltius reveals that he knows there are only 6 classes involved because the Saber class has been barred from participating in this fake war. And this then tips off Professor Lengel that Phaltius is not who he claims to be. He's not who he's expecting. And Phaltius then promptly reveals that he is a part of this rogue mage group who serves this country of little history. And that they are in, though he does not reveal the intentions of this group or his own plans whatsoever. And he then promptly has Lengel killed by a machine gun spray, which to me recalled immediately how Kiritsugu would fight, which I very much appreciated. And the soldiers who participate in the attack are then briefed on anti-mage techniques. Again, something that was very familiar for those who have watched Fate Zero. But Phaltius reveals that the Lengel they killed was simply a puppet, a decoy that Lengel had set up. And however, this is exactly according to his plan. He wants the Mages Association to know about this war that is about to take place. And that's where that storyline ends. Meanwhile, the third Mage's POV is taking place in the Clock Tower in London. And to my delight, it's Waver Velvet, all grown up again. And he has an apprentice named Flat, who is very eager to join the war. Flat is a very optimistic, idealistic character in design, because he wants to join the war not to win the Grail wish itself, but because he simply wants to see the Grail and meet the other heroes. Because he's heard stories about it through whisperings and also from El Malloy's own personal recollections. And Waver then, of course, tells him that, oh, are you willing to actually kill, though? Because this is a battle to the death. You don't understand what's involved in such an event. And this is where I believe will be Flat's major character arc in this storyline, where he has to, because Flat then responds that he would rather beats them in a game of chess rather than resort to killing them. To which Waver then mockingly notes that, oh, well, if you've got a grandmaster chess in the field, then sure, they might take that option. And Waver is the main character who injects the humor into this series so far. And I'm proud to also say that the humor does not come across as forced. It's not, it doesn't feel like it takes away from his character. Instead, it's purely based on the interactions that he has with this naive apprentice of his. And it feels very organic and natural. But while they're discussing this, Waver is even reminded of Iskandar by Flat when he says, if I can make all 7 heroes my friends, we'd be able to conquer the world together. And it's a very nice moment for those of us who have watched Fate Zero to be reminded of this connection. But later on, Flat is asked to deliver a package to Waver, which again connects back to Fate Zero, because it's exactly what happened with Waver when he was still an apprentice. Only this time, instead of stealing the artifact, Flat goes to Lord El Malloy himself, and Waver then says, well, if you want it so bad, you can take this artifact then. And Flat leaves overjoyed, only for Waver to reveal that in his possession is a scrap of what looks like Alexander's coat, revealing that he's got the actual catalyst used for summoning servants. Whatever Flat has is a fake. But then later on, Professor Lengel is reporting back to Waver, having survived the assassination attempt, obviously. And he's, again, a moment of humor is where he's using an extremely crude scarecrow as a puppet instead of the flesh and blood one we saw in America. And as he's discussing this, what's the events of what he's learned with Waver, that Valdius the apprentice is a traitor in part of this rogue mage groups, Waver is then flat-footed because he learns through Lango that Flat has not only gone to America, but actually managed to successfully summon a servant with the fake catalyst of his through sheer will and ability in magecraft, which Waver comments on that Flat is unusually gifted to be the point of being an exception to normal mage rules, which also again builds up intrigue into who Flat is as a character and where exactly he'll be going then. And I am also happy to say there was even a cameo from Grey, from Lady Grey, working with in his office, which was really sweet. And then over in America, Flat is meeting with his servant, and I say meeting in air quotes because the servant doesn't speak to him directly or even appear directly at first. He is purely communicating through telepathy with Flat. And the servant then pranks Flat by approaching him in the guise of a police officer, because Flat is holding in his hands a fake plastic knife. And the policeman comes over, and Flat then tries to quickly hide it, only for the policeman to pull a magic trick by making his baton vanish into thin air, and then changing form into a woman, and then disappearing once more. And as Flat is then speaking with the servant, he then reveals that his name, the name of his servant, is Jack the Ripper. And that's where that point line ends. There are two other major scenes that go unexplored so far in the first half. The first one is that the rogue mages under the command of this Lord Jester summoned Assassin, who does not wear the mask as we're typically used to, although she is shown to be capable of performing the killing hand attack that we saw from True Assassin in Fate Heavensfeel. And she actually goes on to kill not only Lord Jester, but all the other mages present. And she's revealed that they have summoned a mage killer themselves, which I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out, as a rogue assassin hunting mages is a very unique concept we haven't really seen before in this series. The final scene of note is that one of the masters is a young girl in a hospital bed, although so far we have not elaborated on her or her story. So as I said, this will be part 1, and I will upload part 2 next week. Take care.